Hi guys, let's continue reading June 2020 Vision IS Current Affairs. So the sixth topic in the economy section would be International Comparison Program for World Bank. So why was this in the news? Recently, World Bank released new PPPs for reference year 2017 under its International Comparison Program ICP. About ICP. ICP is worldwide data collection initiative that is managed by World Bank under auspices of UN Statistical Commission. The main objective of the ICP is to produce comparable volume measures of GDP and its expenditure components based on purchasing power parities, that is PPPs. India has participated in ICP rounds since its inception in 1970. Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation is national implementing agency for ICP in India. India was co-chair of the ICP governing board along with Austria for the ICP 2017 cycle. Next ICP comparison will be conducted for reference year 2021. Related terms. Actual individual consumption reference to all goods and services actually consumed by households. So actual individual consumption refers to all goods and services actually consumed by households. It encompasses consumer goods and services purchased directly by households and services provided by non-profit institutions and the government for individual consumption. Example, health and education services. Gross fixed capital formation is defined as the acquisition of produced assets, including the production of such assets by producers for their own use minus disposals of fixed assets. PLI is a ratio of a PPP to its corresponding market exchange rate. It is used to compare price levels of economies. If an economy's PLI is less than that of another economy, then its items of expenditure aggregates are less expensive than those in the other economy. Now let's come to data with respect to India. In 2017, India was third largest economy and accounted for 6.7% of global GDP in terms of PPPs. US dollar 8.05 trillion as against China 16.4% and United States 16.3% respectively. PPP of Indian rupee per US dollar at GDP level was 20.65 in 2017, 15.55 in 2011. Price level indices. PLI of India is 47.55 in 2017. So as we know, PLI is ratio of a PPP to its corresponding market exchange rate. India is also third largest economy in terms of its PPP based share in global actual individual consumption and global gross capital formation. India is second largest economy in Asia Pacific, accounting for 20.83% of regional GDP in terms of PPPs, with China first and Indonesia third. Purchasing power parities, PPPs. PPP is the rate at which currency of one country would have to be converted into that of another country to buy same amount of goods and services in each country. Example, if a pair of shoes cost rupees 2500 in India, then it should cost $50 in USA when the exchange rate at PPP is 50 between the dollar and the rupee. PPP's numbers are used to compare living standards across countries, used by World Bank to construct measures of global poverty, relevant for estimating non-traded goods and services such as price of taxi ride, etc. PPP exchange rates are relatively stable than market exchange rates. However, PPP is harder to measure than the market-based rates as ICP is a huge statistical undertaking and new price comparisons are available only at infrequent intervals. Also, ICP does not cover all countries, which means that data for missing countries must be estimated. Market-based exchange rate. It is the exchange rate at which one currency will be exchanged for another in foreign exchange market. It is determined by supply and demand factors of currencies. Now let's come to the seventh topic, that is World Investment Report 2020. Why is this in the news? The World Investment Report released by UNCTAD focuses on trends in foreign direct investment (FDI) worldwide at the regional and country levels and emerging measures to improve its contribution to development. So the World Investment Report is released by UNCTAD. Key finding. FDI flows to South Asia increased by 10% to $57 billion. The rise was driven largely by a 20% increase in investment in India, the largest South Asian FDI recipient, to $51 billion. India jumped from 12th position in 2018 to 9th in 2019 on the list of the world's top FDI recipients. India is biggest FDI host in the sub-region with more than 70% of inward stock. Most of the investments were in the information and communication technology (ICT) and the construction industry. Singapore is the largest source of FDI in India. So Singapore is the largest source of FDI in India during the last fiscal. It was followed by Mauritius, the Netherlands, the US, Cayman Islands, Japan, and France. So the largest source of FDI is Singapore, followed by Mauritius, Netherlands, US, Cayman Islands, Japan, and France. US has the largest inflow of FDI, followed by China and Singapore. Global FDI flows will decrease by up to 40% in 2020 from their 2019 value of 1.54 trillion due to COVID-19 lockdown, supply chain disruptions, and economic slowdown. FDI is projected to decrease by a further 5% to 10% in 2021. Investment flows are expected to slowly recover starting 2022. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. It was established in 1964 as a permanent intergovernmental body. It is the principal organ of the United Nations General Assembly dealing with trade, investment, and development issues. Its headquarters is in Geneva. So the headquarters for UNCTAD is Geneva. Reports published by it are Trade and Development Report, World Investment Report, the Least Developed Countries Report, E-Commerce and Development Report, Review of Maritime Transport, Technology and Innovation Report. So the reports published by UNCTAD are Trade and Development Report, World Investment Report, the Least Developed Countries Report, E-Commerce and Development Report, then Review of Maritime Transport, Technology and Innovation Report. Now let's come to the eighth topic, that is Empowered Group of Secretaries and Project Development Cells. Why was this in the news? Government approves setting up of an empowered group of secretaries, EGOS, and project development cells, PDCs, in ministries and departments for attracting investments in India. Empowered group of secretaries, EGOS. Composition: Cabinet Secretary is chairperson, CEO of Niti Aayog is member. Other members: secretaries of various departments including Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Development of Commerce, Revenue, Department of Commerce, Revenue, Economic Affairs, etc. So what is the objectives of EGOS, that is Empowered Group of Secretaries? To bring synergies between ministries or departments and among the central and state governments in investment related policies. Attract investment and facilitation to global investors through fast-track investment clearance. Facilitate investment in targeted manner and maintain policy stability and consistency in investment environment. Evaluate investments evaluate investments put forward by departments and further provide completion targets to respective departments. Project Development Cell, PDC. So Project Development Cell, PDC, is approved for development of investable projects in India in coordination with central and state governments. It will create projects with all approvals, land available for allocation, and with the complete detailed project reports for adoption or investment by investors. It will identify issues that need to be resolved in order to attract and finalize the investments and put forth these before the empowered group. PDC will conceptualize, strategize, implement, and disseminate details of investable projects. What are the expected benefits? In the current COVID-19 pandemic, as industries are thinking to diversify their investments in different localities, EGOS and PDC aim to make India a more investor-friendly destination for domestic and FDI. It will give fillip to Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan and boost the economy by opening up investment and employment in domestic industries to realize vision of a $5 trillion economy by 2024-25. Ramping up industrial production to help India become a player in the global value chain and serve big markets in the US, the EU, China, etc. Now let's come to the ninth topic, that is commercial coal mining. So why was this in the news? Recently, government launched auction process of 41 coal blocks for commercial mining under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So what is the background? India has the world's fourth largest coal reserve and its second largest producer after China. So, India has the world's fourth largest coal reserve and its second largest producer after China. Still, India stands as second largest coal importer. So, India is second largest producer after China, but still India stands as second largest coal importer. To ensure energy security through assured coal supply, address poor working conditions, etc., coal mining was nationalized in 1973 by Coal Mines Nationalization Act 1973. So, private sector firms were only allowed to mine coal for use in their captive, that is, own use. Example cement, steel, power, and aluminium plants, etc. However, in 2014, Supreme Court cancelled 204 coal mines or blocks which were allocated between 1993 to 2014 on the grounds of C&AG report alleging loss of 1.85 lakh crore to government. Later, the government brought in the Coal Mines Special Provisions CMSP Act of 2015 to allocate coal blocks through auction. Prior to the enactment CMSP Act, coal mines were never given out through bidding. Companies used to apply for coal blocks and rights were given to them after scrutiny by an interministerial committee. Recently, government came with the Mineral Laws Amendment Act 2020 which amends the Mineral Laws Amendment Act 2020. It amends the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957 MMDR Act and the Coal Mines Special Provisions Act 2015 under which current auction process is launched. So, what are the expected benefits of commercial coal mining? The first benefit is economic gains. The proposed auction of 41 coal blocks for commercial mining will create more than 2.8 lakh jobs and attract capital investment worth 33,000 crore. Allowing FDI in coal mining industry will facilitate adoption of new technology. Reduction in imports, involvement of private players, and investment by them will help meet domestic coal requirements and save forex reserve by reducing imports. The 41 mines proposed for auction are expected to hit peak production of 2 to 5 million ton and expected to account for around 15% of India's total coal production in 2025-2026. Reduced cost to customer. Higher production and surplus availability of coal may reduce the cost of electricity as currently coal-fired plants generate about 70% of India's electricity. So currently coal-based plants generate about 70% of India's electricity. Revenue to the government. It is expected that commercial coal mining will add 20,000 crore annually to the state government's revenue. Development of the coal bearing regions. Revenue generated through coal production will raise contribution to District Mineral Foundation Fund set up under MMDR Amendment Act 2015 and could be spent on the welfare schemes for locals and tribal in surrounding area. So, what are the challenges? The first challenge is cost of power production through renewable energy is increasingly getting lower. So, what we see is that the cost of power production through renewable energy is increasingly getting lower. Hence, private players also shifting investment in renewable energy sources rather than conventional sources like coal. Central Electricity Authority (CEA) expected that coal-based thermal power plants' capacity utilization will fall to 48% by 2022 as additional non-thermal electricity generation capacities rise. This might further discourage investors. CIL estimated that only about 21 billion tons could be extracted technically and economically. Thus, India may run out of easily extractable coal down to the depth of 300 meters in the next few years. This will mean that companies will need to mine deeper, which would require increased mechanization with an increase in the cost of production. Some states are raising concerns that disregarding powers of state governments and Gram Sabha to recognize mines allocation is against cooperative federalism and leads to loss of revenue to states or villages. There are socio-economic concerns like acquisition, rehabilitation, and resettlement of people affected and risk of environmental degradation. Now let's see other recent steps taken in coal sector. The coal linkages have been rationalized in order to reduce the distance in transportation of coal from the coal mines to the consumer. Under the coal linkage policy, power producers are linked to the coal producers. The commitments under the linkages are binding and the coal cannot be transferred to other consumers. Environment Protection Act was amended to drop mandatorily washing coal for supply to thermal power plants, citing reason it prompts industries to import coal. Instead, thermal power plants were directed to install the technology for handling ash content. Amendment in the mines. Amendment in the guidelines of preparation, processing, and approval of mining plan, with simplified guidelines and measures are being taken to formulate an online single window clearance system. Amendments were made to Mineral Concession Rule 1960 to provide more flexibility in plan and operation. Mineral Laws Amendment Act 2020 includes provisions like removal of restriction on end use of coal, composite license for prospecting and mining, etc., to promote ease of doing business in coal mining. Announcements under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, including spending 50,000 crore rupees on creating infrastructure of coal extraction and transport, rebate on revenue share payable to government for early production, producing excess of the scheduled target and for coal used in gasification, etc. Now let's see the way forward. Setting up of an independent regulatory body for the coal sector to carve out coal blocks, oversee investments, and also carry out valuation. Coal Regulatory Authority Bill 2013 was introduced for this purpose, but it was lapsed. There should be fine balance between short-term cost savings and long-term environmental impact by promoting sustainable coal consumption and reducing waste discharge through combining smaller mining areas to develop into one single mine of large capacities. For more details on Mineral Laws Amendment Act 2020, refer Mineral Laws Amendment Bill 2020 article in March 2020 Monthly Current Affairs. For more details on announcements under Atmanirbhar Bharat in coal sector, refer May 2020 Monthly Current Affairs. Now let's come to the 10th topic, that is social stock Exchange. So let's come to Social Stock Exchange. Why was this in the news? Expert panel set up by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI, has prepared draft norms for social stock exchanges, SSE. About social stock exchanges, SSE. Social Stock Exchange is an electronic fundraising platform that allows investors to buy shares in a social enterprise that has been vetted by the exchange. Social enterprises include a revenue generating business whose primary objective is to achieve a social objective, for example, providing healthcare or clean energy. So, social enterprises is a revenue generating business whose primary objective is to achieve a social objective, for example, providing healthcare or clean energy. Idea of a SSE for listing of social enterprise and voluntary organizations for raising capital as equity, debt, or like a mutual fund was mooted in the Union Budget 2019-20. Later, SEBI constituted panel to suggest norms for SSEs. So later, SEBI constituted a panel to suggest norms for SSEs. The most prominent SSEs in the world are in UK, Canada, USA, South Africa, Singapore, and Mauritius. Now let's come to key recommendations of the panel. Give tax soaps such as an exemption from the Securities Transaction Tax (STT) and Capital Gains Tax (CGT) to ensure that SSEs take off in the country. Make philanthropic donors be eligible to claim 100% tax exemption on investments. Allow first-time retail investors to avail 100% tax exemption on their investments. Set up INR 100 crore capacity building fund to create a capacity building unit that will foster overall sector development. Consider funding to non-profit organizations and POs on SSEs as corporate social responsibility (CSR). Allow trading of CSR spends between companies with excess CSR spends and those with deficient CSR spends on SSEs. Suggested reporting and disclosure framework to ensure transparency. SSE can be housed within the existing Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange to enable leveraging of the existing infrastructure and client relationships. Now let's come to benefits of Social Stock Exchange, SSE. This will unlock funds from donors, philanthropic foundations, corporate social responsibility spenders, and impact investors for social development. As per Brookings India, currently, only 57% of the social enterprises have access to debt and equity, which is barrier to growth and sustainability. Listing of social enterprises on an SSE, social stock exchange would also improve visibility of social enterprises in the eyes of large investors and philanthropic organizations. Also, SSEs will provide investors a better understanding of social sector for routing their investment. Banks, NBFCs, and other investors can also raise capital from SSE to participate in the growth journey of the social enterprises and thereby deepen their impact. SSE will help to improve essential social services and important social sectors like education, health, agriculture, and clean energy by channeling greater capital to them. SSE is SSE is expected to unlock large pools of social capital and encourage blended finance structures so that conventional capital can partner with social capital to address the urgent challenges of COVID 19. Challenges in setting up SSE. There is no consensus about what is and isn't a social enterprise. Professor Muhammad Yunus' definition of social business can be adopted, who defined it as a non-loss, non-dividend paying company which is created and designed to address a social problem. So he defined it as a non-loss, non-dividend paying company which is created and designed to address a social problem. Valuing social initiatives, welfare, and non-profits organizations is difficult because there is no set benchmark, no uniform structures to set minimum thresholds to enable their listing. Apart from equity capital, social enterprises need debt, particularly to meet working capital requirements, but only a handful of private impact investors provide debt to early stage social enterprises. India has more than 2 million social enterprises, non-profits, for-profits, and hybrid model, which needs careful planning while designing a social stock exchange. So what's the way forward? Social impact assessment can be adopted as a way to assess social initiatives. So, social impact assessment can be adopted as a way to assess social initiatives, welfare, and non-profits organizations. Bringing policy and regulatory reforms to support investors and facilitating research and development for small social enterprises. Educating market participants about the valuation metrics, weighing both on social and financial returns. Transparency and accountability can be achieved by online platform similar to Niti Aayog's Darpan portal, which provides platform for interface between voluntary organizations or NGOs and government ministries. Now let's come to the 11th topic, that is Indian Gas Exchange, IGX. So why was this in the news? India's first gas exchange, the Indian Gas Exchange IGX, was launched recently as wholly owned subsidiary of Indian Energy Exchange. So now let's come to Indian Energy Exchange. It is the first and largest energy exchange in India, providing a nationwide automated trading platform for physical delivery of electricity, renewable energy certificates, and energy saving certificates. It is regulated by the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, CERC. So Indian Energy Exchange IEX is one of the two power exchanges in India, other being Power Exchange India Limited PXIL. Now let's come to IGX. It is a digital trading platform that will allow buyers and sellers of natural gas to trade both in the spot market and in the forward market for important natural gas across three hubs: the Dahej and Hazira in Gujarat and Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. So the Dahej and Hazira in Gujarat and Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. Imported liquefied natural gas LNG will be regasified and sold to buyers through the exchange, removing the requirement for buyers and sellers to find each other. The bidding is done in an autonomous manner where the buyer and seller do not know their counterpart. The price of domestically produced natural gas is decided by the government and it will not be sold on the gas exchange. Domestic production of gas has been falling over the past two fiscals as current sources of natural gas have become less productive. Domestically produced natural gas currently accounts for less than half the country's natural gas consumption. Imported LNG accounts for the other half. Hence, IGX encourages trading in imported LNG. The contracts trading at IGX are for compulsory specific physical delivery and settlement of the trade are subject to the condition that such contracts are non-transferable in nature. Spot and forward market. So the spot market is a public financial market in which financial instruments or commodities are traded for immediate delivery. Now let's come to forward market. So a forward market is an over-the-counter marketplace that sets the price of a financial instrument or asset for future delivery. Now let's come to expected benefits. The exchange is expected to facilitate transparent price discovery in natural gas and facilitate the growth of the share of natural gas in India's energy basket. India has set a policy target of increasing the share of natural gas in India's energy basket from current 6.5% to 15% by 2030. Trading platform will also drive competition across the value chain, leading to innovative business models and efficient cost structures, thus supporting the overall affordability of gas. Now let's come to the 12th topic, that is real-time market in electricity. So why was this in the news? Recently, Pan-India real-time market in electricity was launched. Indian Energy Exchange Limited IEX is the first energy exchange in India, providing automated trading platform for delivery of electricity, renewable energy certificates and energy saving certificates. Power Exchange India Limited PXIL is India's first institutionally promoted power exchange providing electronic platform for transactions in power and allied products. Now let's come to real-time market in electricity. Real-time market is organized market platform enabling buyers and sellers to meet their energy requirement closer to real-time operation. Under this auctions will be held 48 times a day, once every half an hour. So under this, auctions will be held 48 times a day, once every half an hour. It became operational on two platforms, Indian Energy Exchange IEX and Power Exchange India Limited PXIL. Power System Operation Corporation Limited POSOCO will route electricity from supply sources to consumption point with help of regional load dispatch centers. To implement the real-time market, as amendments were made to Power Market Regulations, Indian Electricity Grid Code IEGC regulations, and Open Access in Interstate Transmission regulations. Now let's come to Power System Operation Corporation Limited POSOCO. It is a wholly owned Government of India enterprise under the Ministry of Power. It facilitates competitive and efficient wholesale electricity markets and administers settlement systems. It consists of 5 regional load dispatch centers and a national load dispatch center NLDC to ensure integrated operation of the national power system with reliability, economy and sustainability. Now let's come to benefits of real-time market in electricity. The first benefit is ensure optimal utilization of the surplus electricity, as electricity producers who may see generation more than their committed demand can sell surplus energy in market. Manage diversity in the demand pattern. Manage diversity in the demand pattern, as electricity discoms faced with sudden shortage of supply can't purchase electricity. Real-time market would help to mitigate challenges to the grid management due to intermittent and variable nature of renewable energy generation, especially solar and wind energy. Thus, it can lead to integration of higher quantum of renewable energy resources into the grid. Shorter bidding time, faster scheduling and defined processes will enable the participants to access resources throughout the All India grid for promoting competition. It will lead to cost optimization of power purchase and serve consumers with reliable power supply. The concept of get closer ensures firmness in schedules during the hours of market operation. Get closer implies the closure of the gate for trading in real-time market, after which the bids submitted to the power exchange cannot be modified for a specified delivery period. Now let's come to the 13th topic, that is Agridex. So why was this in the news? National Commodity and Derivatives Exchange NCDX announced the commencement of trading in the country's first agriculture futures index called Agridex. Now tell me about futures. These are a type of derivative instruments. So futures, these are a type of derivative instrument. A derivative is an instrument whose value is derived from the value of one or more underlying assets, which can be commodities, precious metals, currency, bonds, stocks indices, etc. Common examples of derivative instruments are forwards, futures, options, and swaps. In futures, there is an agreement to buy or sell a specified quantity of financial instrument or physical commodity in a designated future month at a price agreed upon by the buyer and seller. About NCDEX. It is the country's leading agricultural commodity exchange, which offers services across the entire value chain of agricultural commodities. It offers a wide range of benchmark products across agriculture commodities. It brings buyers and sellers together through its electronic trading platform. So now let's come to more on news about AgriDex. So NCDEX AgriDex is India's first return-based agricultural futures index which tracks the platform of the 10 liquid commodities, both Kharif and Rabi seasons, traded on NCDEX platform. 10 commodities include castor seed, chana, coriander, cottonseed oil cake, gur gum, gur seed, zira mustard seed, ref soya oil, and soya bean. No group of related commodities may constitute more than 40% of the total weightage in the index in order to ensure diversification. It will facilitate the participants in hedging their commodity risk based on price anticipation of the products. It is based on the revised guidelines issued by the Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI or SEBI), which allowed futures trading in commodity indices. NCDEX has partnered with National Stock Exchange NSE Indices, a leading index service provider, to maintain and disseminate real-time NCDEX AgriDex values. Now let's come to the 14th topic, that is Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund. So why was this in the news? Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has recently approved the establishment of Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund worth rupees 15,000 crores. About Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund AHIDF. AHIDF would facilitate investments in establishment of infrastructure for dairy and meat processing and value addition infrastructure and establishment of animal feed plant in the private sector. Eligible beneficiaries: farmer producer organizations, FPOs, MSMEs, not-for-profit or not-for-profit companies, private companies, and individual entrepreneurs. Funding: minimum 10% margin money to be contributed by beneficiary. The balance 90% would be the loan component to be made available by scheduled banks. Interest subvention: Government of India will provide 3% interest subvention to eligible beneficiaries. There will be 2 years moratorium period for principal loan amount and 6 years repayment period thereafter. Credit Guarantee Fund: Government of India would also set up Credit Guarantee Fund of rupees 750 crores to be managed by NABARD. Credit guarantee would be provided to those sanctioned projects which are covered under MSME defined ceilings. Animal husbandry sector statistics in India. During 2016-17, the value of output from livestock sector at current prices is about 31.25% of the value of output from agricultural and allied sector. India continues to be the largest producer of milk. So, India continues to be the largest producer of milk in India. In the world, with per capita availability of milk 394 gram per day during 2018-19. World per capita availability is 229 grams per day. As per the latest and 20th livestock census, the total livestock population is 535.78 million. Now let's come to expected benefits. Investment. AHIDF is expected to leverage around 7 times private investment. It will ensure availability of capital to meet upfront investment and hence overall returns and payback for investors. Employment generation. AHIDF would help in direct and indirect livelihood creation for 35 lakh people. Benefit for farmers. Almost 50 to 60% of final value of dairy output in India flows back to farmers. Thus, growth in this sector would directly impact farmers' income. Also, it would motivate farmers to invest more on inputs, thereby driving higher productivity. It would promote exports of the processed and value-added commodities. So let's continue in my next video. Bye for now, guys. Bye.